Good night, everyone. So up until now, I did some preparations. I will discuss in a minute what kind, and also I've rearranged the room and cleaned it. It's a very small room, so you can't do much. So still, there is like just the place enough for the things that not really. Small table and but I think it will be better that way. And now I also face the window when I walk, which is good, even though the window is window is used by the Israelis to for pigs to they just like to go and like deliver messages, and it annoys me to a great extent the fact that I'm not only imprisoned, but I also need to listen to the advices and symbols and messages of the Nazi captors. So I will try. I'll try to improve on my work on the containers of the various containers, and do some adjustments in order to actually prepare like a good amount of the chocolate that understand so many people covet, and I even don't know why. I would say that yesterday I tasted for the first time in my life actually I had a very small remnant, and I just spread very little bit over a matzah. I still have matzahs from leftover donations from Pesach, so I didn't feel anything. Do you supposed to feel something? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so it didn't give me superpowers beyond. I actually already have superpowers, so it's kind of really to ask for more. But I felt like usual. I don't know, maybe it was not anyway, we will try to prepare a large amount of it. It was just, it was really nothing. Maybe you need to eat I don't know, a spoonful of it. I don't know, a cup. I guess cup is far too much. I know that you have very small. I probably already burned maybe the amount that an average country in Europe possessed since it was created. And as I said, it's not irony, it's cruelty. It's cruelty from the hands of the Israelis. So we need to work on the containers. As I said, I'm working on preparations. I will also say I have good news. God, praise the Lord. As they say, I have good news. I've discovered it was actually by accident. There's many nice discoveries along the way. You have well, it requires the hands of God, and of course it requires you to do a lot of mistakes. And the combination of the help of God and you making a lot of mistakes. You sometimes do something that is a mistake, but it's accidental, but is also very. You find it to be very beneficial from an aspect, from another aspect of the situation of your problems. So as you remember, I have the issue with P that I also have actually asked you, and no one answered me, and or maybe I didn't understand the answer. Is there a way to actually remove the smell of pee from pee? Because I now work a lot with my pee. I initially worked with semen because it was it's more concentrated, and also it doesn't smell like pee. But there is I produce much more pee than semen, even if I really work hard on the production of semen. It's still as I said, after how many times you can do it a day without it being really a chore, and also pee is much easier to it flows like pee. And I found that pee is all pee is also useful. For example, the black goo was created from a mixture that contained a good amount of pee. So, but the problem is that it smells like pee. So, and also it comes with large volumes, and it's diluted with water that I don't need. So I ask you two questions. First is, I mean, how to if there is a way to remove the smell of pee, and second, can you reduce the quantity of the water, but without using it. I mean, the obvious way is to use to heat it, so you will lose water, but I'm not sure the animals will stand that. I mean, the procedure. So I'm reluctant to just put it on a stove or something like that. And currently I don't have I don't have nothing here, and specifically I don't have my portable stove, gas stove. So I don't it's not something. I'm not going to boil pee in the common kitchen in the hostel. But the good news is they found a combination of things that you can put the pee together in a closed container, and it greatly removes the smell of the pee, and it even reduces the size. I'm not sure, but by how much. I need to actually have more experiences, but it somehow reduces the volume. And so suddenly I'm very tired, and I wanted to have so many experiments today. Why do I feel tired? Is it something to do with the window? Maybe I imported the window, and I mean, you tell me with all your weapons, maybe it's sonic weapons from the wind that comes from the window. Maybe it's sonic weapon. So much tortures. I mean, really, people. I mean, you can give me a break. Can't you give me a break or something? You hear the coughing of the neighbors. It's a known terror attack. Wow, suddenly I'm so tired. I don't know why. Really, I mean, maybe it's from the window. But it's so nice to have some fresh air. I mean, in front of me, to walk in front of the window. I mean, I'm in prison, and I mean, my only joy in life is to open the window and have a breath of fresh air, and even that is now, I mean, that too dangerous. Yeah, I'm so tired. What are they doing that makes me so tired? It's maybe it's sonic or electric. Anyway. So first of all, let's start with the riddle. I don't know the answer, so it's more than a question, but it can also be defined as a riddle. So the riddle goes like that. We do know that there are storms on the sun, on the face of the sun. There are huge storms that create large, it looks like arcs of I don't know actually what it's made of. Probably from the same thing that the sun is made of, at least the outer layer. But it looks like I mean, the way that it's often I don't know how it looks, but the way that it also often painted or imagined is an arc of a burning material that is starting in one place in the sun and goes and return to the sun. Okay, and many people, it's also something that people say, I don't know if it's true, but that it has something to do with magnetism. It's even called magnetic storm sometimes. I hope I'm not botching the whole concept, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Okay? Now it's important to the way that it's often depicted in images again is that it many times the storms, the arcs flow in opposing directions or multiple directions. And this is even actually it's one of the traditional way to actually, if you want to portray a symbol or something that will look very generally like the sun, not you don't want to pay too much attention, and you just want to represent the sun. The most basic thing is to paint a yellow circle. It's the most naive possible. But one step above it, which is still very naive and simple, but perhaps just a little bit more elaborate, is to paint a yellow circle and to create like horns, like low rising horns, although yellow or red as well, but to paint them in opposing directions. Like some like would be like that, and some would be like that, all around the circle. Okay. I don't know why it's so common, but it's common, so maybe it has some good ground in reality. Now we also know that the Earth it's got like a magnetic field, and it's famously, it's like, in the South Pole and the North Pole, which acts like a huge like a huge electric I forgot the word. Anyway, the magnetic the magnetic field, it's like that, like, sorry, like that from both sides, like from below, like that. Okay, which means that and this signifies that there is a north and the south. It's, and also so the north is always the north. It doesn't change direction. If it would, it will be like something that that people should start worry about. They should worry anyway. But just for the sake of the argument, let's say that they are not worried. If the magnetic north would change considerably, actually it does change, but very, very little. If it will start to change considerably, it will be another reason to worry if you're not already worried, which you should be. So there is no change. So the magnetic field doesn't change. Now we also know that the magnetic field is the Earth is beneficial for life. This together with the relatively thick but not too dense atmosphere that is presumably the condition in Venus, which is not true, but like Venus-like. So this enables life, actually. This is it's part of the things that it's not just that, but these are two very strong things, because the magnetic field and that the thick atmosphere protects humans from radiation, which is a huge problem in space, like anywhere in space, and especially close to stars. And you have to be close to a star if you want to do the whole evolution thing. And so we know that Earth has it's got like a metal iron and other metal core, which you have to have if you want the magnetic field, right? And we know that not all celestial bodies has this kind of core, but it's very and some asteroids are just the core itself, which is great. For mining purposes, because it's huge. You only get the good stuff. You don't get all the dirt and the shit and the water. You just get the gold and metal and so it's great for greedy miners. Great. So my question is the following: if the magnetic let's assume that the sun also it's got a very by the way, it should be mentioned that all let's leave the origin of the element issue on the side for a moment, but it's also related. There is the issue of the origin, because actually, there's a question where do the element come from? And so there's also issue of supernova. Never mind, because actually it's not that. But let's leave it aside. What I wanted to ask is that if both the sun and the Earth, they have a iron core or metallic core, and this is the fact that creates the magnetic field. Then how come we see this the sun storms or the arcs on the sun arcs in multiple direction? Because in Earth, the magnetic field is always the same, right? So presumably it should be the same on the sun. So we would expect like all the arcs to be like on the same direction. Like, I mean, not in the same direction like in a straight line, but as arcs that point to one pole. Am I right, or do I miss something? So I mean, maybe the whole question is stupid, but maybe, I mean, there is a different magnetic field, and maybe I mean, there's another aspect here. So after we've spoken about that, I'm very tired. I really need like to gather some energy. I don't know. They attacked me with Sonics. That's my life of torture. Maybe we have like, so we have like here an old like, it's very old. I mean, I used it for some time like for the courses and all. But so this is, as you see, like, I mean, a schematic, like you see 5 asteroids. You've probably seen it many times. It's quite old, but I mean, it's handy, so I use it, like, you know, from time to time. Maybe it's not that old. I mean, where did they paint it? Actually, should have been. Maybe it was painted like on my mother's apartment, probably. I mean, where else? So I mean, you can see. I mean, the schematics are very, very simple. So you see that, I mean, the sun is portrayed like as both in yellow and red. The red, I mean, is actually needed for like, because I didn't want it to be monochromatic. As you remember that there is a distinction between monochromatic and like colored in symbolic language for like students that, I mean, attended earlier classes on symbolic language. That it's a subject that didn't speak about like for quite some time, but only indirectly. So you see here that the storms are like both in this direction and also in that direction. I mean, and maybe it's not like a scientific proof, but anyway, there's a question here. You can also see the Earth, and you can also see the asteroids on the way, the 5, and you can see Venus, which for some reason I like in divination. Like, so regarding Venus, I must say that I've never been there and nobody ever spoke to me about it. So I mean, I know, like, I mean, the usual theory. I'm acquainted with it since I was a small child. That I was interested in astronomy, but I understand it's not the place that people, I mean, say it is. I've watched like several divinations or like visions on regarding Venus. But I understand that it's not my place. Like, people think that I'm in delusion, but I'm not. And I mean, I've spoken about it a lot, and I recall. I mean, I mentioned these issues because it's not very important for me to understand. I mean, for the purpose of the research and development project, to understand like how, I mean, the conditions in Venus. It's interesting, but not especially interesting for our like discussion. For example, I have like, I mean, a very strong feeling. Maybe I'm wrong with that. I mean, like, we know that Earth is associated with very strongly with the color blue. It's the most common and like well-known photograph of the Earth, which was also one of the most like well-known photographs that was ever taken. Was taken. I mean, I don't know if, I mean, was during the 70s from some kind of no, there were shuttles in the 70s or just in the 80s. Anyway, it's called the Blue Pearl. It's a specific photograph of the Earth from the space, which is called the Blue Pearl, which is very, I mean, everyone has seen this like reproduction of this like photograph like a million times. It's, I mean, of course, other versions were taken after that, but this one is very, very like famous, and it's called the Blue Pearl. So blue is associated with the Earth, and I mean, it's not really difficult to understand why, because I mean, from space you mostly see, I mean, you don't really see what's, I mean, in the photograph, because everything in space doesn't really look like, I mean, the things that, I mean, are always the photographs. You always see that that supposedly were taken because it's, I mean, all the photographs that are taken in space are, are processed. I mean, some heavily processed before they are like published. So nothing really looks like the photograph. But of course, I mean, every child can tell you why the Earth is associated with blue. And we can also tell that Mars is associated with red, and this was like that since antiquity. And it's maybe perhaps the most like the well-known color association is Mars. From regarding celestial bodies is red and Mars. Sometimes red and sometimes reddish brown, like hamra, clay brown, red brown clay. So what about Venus? What's the color? What's color should be associated with Venus? You can say white because of the white clouds that were seen since since the age of enlightenment hundreds of years ago. But white is a problem because many things look white from far. Mercury also, many things look bright, like white. So we need another color which, and for some reason, I'm not sure I'm correct, but I have a very strong feeling. To quote me, I don't know why. From divine inspiration, but maybe I'm wrong. That the answer is purple. I don't know why. One possible explanation is just that, they have vegetation there, like Earth has a vegetation, and on Earth, almost all vegetation is, the dominant color is green. If blue wasn't the color that represents Earth, we probably would have chosen green, because humans kill, destroy much of the wild vegetation, but still, even after all the destruction, there are huge forests on the Earth, and it's something that is very strongly associated with the Earth, and forest and all everything that grows. It's the color that's most dominant is green, because, and it's not by chance, because because everything that goes on the ground, and also as I mentioned, the cyanobacteria, which actually is in the water, but let's leave it aside. But everything that goes on the ground requires energy, and most of the energy is coming directly from the sun by photosynthesis, and photosynthesis requires leaves, and specifically green leaves. Great, but can you actually get, is there a process to create, to get, for a living thing, to acquire energy for its growth and for its usage, and to acquire it directly from the sun or from another star via a chemical process that is similar to photosynthesis, but using surfaces, or more simply leaves that are not green? The answer is yes. There is such a process. I don't remember its name, but there is a very known theory that I'm not sure. I don't know if it's true, but it's one of the theories that circulate. Regarding the history of ancient prehistory of the Earth, is that in the past it was actually like that. That there were many that in the past many a lot of many kinds of vegetation on Earth were actually they used this process for energy, not photosynthesis, but something like photosynthesis. I don't remember the name of the process, and the leaves were actually purple, because it's I'm not sure why, but sorry, that's the knowledge that I currently can have and can recall. So purple could also be associated with planets. Why all this is why do we even speak about it? So what connects those two issues, the riddle and the issue of the color of Venus, is what's connected. All these issues is that I'm working on the containers, and as you understand, maybe now more than before, because now you are invested in it, you have interested, material interest in it, it's very clear to you. I'm working with several. I mean, and it's just getting the number just goes with. But I mean, you can also really see that. I mean, we are working with all sort of like different mixtures. The black goo that, I mean, or the chocolate that you covet so much is again, it's just one more, maybe a very important one, if not just for the fact that, I mean, you value it. So I mean, okay, so I mean, it's objectively, it's got like a high value, but it's just another mixture. And I already work with many, and because that's what I do. I mean, I work on the containers and like the living environment and also the mixtures. So, and so in order for the neos to do things like what I want, they're like, it's like a civilization. You and I'm in contact with them. So I need to give them messages, and also need to give them conditions. But something can be both, like it can be either or both a condition and also a message. For example, I mean, if it's too hot or too cold, then I mean maybe they just can't work, because that's their nature or their design, whatever you want to use the word nature or design. Maybe they're just not designed to I mean, they die, or they became like immobile or sleep. I mean, or hibernated. So you need to like to have like, so you need to get like to take care of the correct like temperature or temperature range. But sometimes a physical condition could also be a symbol, and I've already I spoke about like light, like that light can be both like a symbol and also a condition at the same time. Like it could be like a message, like the presence of light of certain wavelengths, lengths, do that or don't do that. And this is also true for like for magnetism and I mean pressure and everything else. And again, I'm certain that, I mean, regarding to like my usage of electricity in the electrolysis experiment, it's not, perhaps, I mean, it's got like symbolic aspect, like component, but it's also that they use the energy for certain, and I've explained why. And I speculated several times. I don't know if you remember that maybe the symbolic parts of the condition of the conditions in the containers are actually a mimic or representation of nature. Because I mean, even if, I mean, we call it nanobots, I mean, still they have nature. I mean, it could be like an artificial nature, but all nature is artificial because God created like the heaven and the earth. From the point of view of God, everything is artificial. So maybe these conditions actually mimic the conditions of like their origin. And I already said I don't believe that their origin is Venus. Even then, I mean, maybe they are associated with Venus, I mean, by some humans, but I mean, it's because of, I mean, you have only partial knowledge and you don't understand the complete picture. And also there are several types of neurons, and when I refer now to my own like neurons that are in my body, and again, it might be different from other neurons, and perhaps, I mean, I don't know, certainly, I mean, if we start to work with like the brown like goose, seriously, if I'll able to prepare like a good amount, and I'm certain that I'm so tired right now, but maybe even tonight I could have done it, but if I wasn't so tired actually right now, but if I wasn't so tired, I mean, I could have actually create one right now, like a big, I guess, big amount, and then I would start work on the brown, on the chocolates, and it's all looking, but maybe for the things that they can do, and we already know, and I've spoken about it today, that there are things that they cannot do. For certain, they cannot create more of themselves. Otherwise, it's like, it means that, I mean, both Venus and Earth like share a history of stupidity, which is unimaginable. Because why fight so much, like, and pay so much for things that can replicate itself? So my assumption is that they cannot do it. Just a second. Okay, so maybe I just close the window and make do without air. It's not that fun, but I'm really under attack. Just a second. Okay, maybe let's see if situation improves. Yeah, they can do it. It's not science fiction. They can do it, and I even explained how, like in general terms, how the Nazis can do it in Israel. Yes. So what I meant to say, I'm certain that maybe the conditions for the brown stuff. I haven't done anything like smart with it. Just burned it, and for that you don't need the condition like it's to burn it. So, but maybe for like more advanced things, you need actually like different conditions, and perhaps they are different, and they also related to another like planet or another body, like celestial body. But my like hypothesis was that perhaps the symbolic terms, the symbolic component of the condition that are required for the leaders in order to do all sort of stuff is symbolic, but because they are smart. They have like they have like intelligence, so they understand symbolic language. So I speculate that maybe the symbolic aspect is also based on the the physical condition that were present, or like that was sometimes present. Maybe the physical condition change in their place of origin. And I've also said, I don't know if you remember, that it's perhaps it was not even a planet. Perhaps it was some kind of another heavenly like astronomical object. Could be both like natural and artificial. And again, the distinction is less like evident that you might assume between like natural and unnatural megastructure in space. Because, and I've said many times, the moon, like Luna, your own moon, is also a megastructure. It's a megastructure created by God. So you don't have to megastructures in space are associated with things like O'Neill cylinder and all the nice things. It's a really interesting issue. I really like it. You can find that in the channel of Isaac Arthur. But the moon is also and actually this notion is not. It's actually. I mentioned Isaac Arthur because this notion is actually very present in his channel, because he speaks sometimes about the distant future, like a very distant future. So he speaks about civilizations that are so powerful that they can manipulate the stars and other like huge things, like objects in space. So yes, for such civilization, moons are also artificial, and stars, etc. So you can ask, okay, if they're so smart as you say that they are, why do you need to fool them? Like, you actually need, to paint, I don't know, things, or to use, magnetic fields and heat and all sort of stuff, just, to simulate, symbolically simulate, conditions that were true, but, they're certainly not true now. So in order for them, to do stuff, why can't you just do whatever you want? It seems like you were trying to fool them. So I would say, no, it's not true. I don't think that it's true. I think that, as I said, even if the like yesterday or the day before, even if they sometimes they need to actually see something visually, optically see something. I mean, not using their eyes because they don't have eyes, but they have other kind of sensors. So they need actually to be able to see something in order for the message to pass, even if they know it's there. But I mean, this is good because think about it. I mean, we want like to be able to communicate. I mean, I want to be able to communicate with them, and they're so powerful. I don't want them to do things like, I mean, without me it's not very important thing because we know when they do work by their own volition and do so also like they are gardening projects which are, and they also of course, I mean, they do, I mean, they run their like anti like I mean they run my immune system without me telling them to do it when they're in my body, without me telling them, and of course it's good. We wouldn't want them like to ask me anytime they want to kill like a germ that entered my body. But we wouldn't want them to do anything actually after my body. I mean, just, I mean, by mistake. I mean, some kind of mistakes are fine, but I mean, in the long range, it's very important to share. I mean, to share some kind of language, and it doesn't matter if, I mean, the issue is not me trying to fool them; it's me trying to communicate with them. And part of the communication is to signify stuff, because I can't speak Hebrew or English with them. So I mean, it's not, we don't share like a natural language or programming language, but a symbolic language, which is much of it is visual, but not all, but much of it is visual. So there should be some kind of like visual cues or symbolic like components of the language that will symbolize, that will tell the video to do all sorts of things. So some kind of language is needed, and we want the language to be like, not to be too volatile. We don't want it to change every minute. Otherwise, I mean, it's not a language. So we need to share like the knowledge in order for them to, I mean, to do things that are not completely unexpected by me. So if like it's indeed true, I mean, it is that I mean, we need some kind of like constant symbolic paintings or other like other ways to transmit information, then I mean, it only makes sense that we will choose symbolic representation of the conditions, the physical conditions that existed in their own planet, or perhaps it was a star, not a planet, or another, like, I don't know, a pulsar, something, a black hole. I don't know where they were originated. It just makes sense that the symbolic aspect will mimic like reality, even if they know very well that currently it's not, I mean, they're not located on the original like where they were born, like in the original location. I mean, they are now, they stay in a foreign place. Even if they know it, I mean, in order to do stuff, they still like need like to see the symbols that I mean, at least some of those symbols are actually strongly related to conditions that they know from their origin. Maybe actually the origin is indeed a star, and we need to remember something regarding stars. Not all stars are actually that, like, I mean, like horrific, or I mean, like dangerous for anything remotely like complicated in nature as you would imagine. I mean, some stars actually, like on the surface of some stars, the temperature is about the same as on Earth. I know that it sounds ridiculous, but it is the way it is. It doesn't mean that people can actually walk on those stars because the gravity will squash them. But I mean, just want to say that, I mean, stars are not always, I mean, the way that there are many types of stars actually. So I mean, there are all kinds of stars, and maybe those neurons were originated in like a natural star, which is not. I mean, it's not the way that we commonly like imagine stars, but it's kind of like one of the other stars that I mean we know, like I mean we have like I mean we've heard the names like brown this and white this and like pink elephant and like pink panther and you know pink Israeli intelligence officer and like all those like creatures that I mean we have like general knowledge, but nobody really remembers I mean what differentiate them. So maybe that's a place of origin. So okay, that was just a thought, and I'm really tired and suddenly my app is clogged and I feel like something is really I think I'll just go to sleep. Many people will be disappointed, but I am so weak suddenly. Anyway, it will be all for now.